A whole week has passed since the girl found herself in this body. Her new life is far from boring, and now she woke up in a huge hall with the feeling as if she had been beaten all night. She has a really bad headache. You can tell by the bloodstains, which means she's knocked out again from a couple of bottles of drinks. This world in the novel is not a nightmare, but the most real reality, and there is no escape from there. She didn't like this strange, bizarre place from the first day. There is a certain medieval feel here, although it is not so, and the dresses look more like one-piece dresses than Rococo. This is a civilization developed with the help of mysterious technologies and magic. All this time, how long she has been in this body, the girl has not really learned anything. Wasted time at parties and only now realized that she needs to somehow adapt and start a new life, since such an opportunity has arisen. Fortunately, she has no problems with reading or speech, and also she ended up in a world in which she wouldn't mind living. Sophia quickly took up reading. After all, without any information, it would be too difficult to move on. She needs to know at least where she is, whose house it is, and what awaits her next. Her father is not the most reliable person. He leads a very wild lifestyle. He loves to play games and waste money. The main thing for him is emotions, and he lives one day at a time. And her mother, the Countess. The woman is now going through a very difficult period. She is undergoing treatment. But unfortunately, today, no one gives guarantees that everything will be fine with her. Judging by her body, the girl understands that she is often beaten and bullied. There are more blue spots on her hands than normal skin tones. She doesn't even want to imagine what will happen if she can't get out of this life. And she also feels like there is a black hole everywhere that will eventually pull her deeper and deeper inside. In the original story, everything is very sad. The girl is doomed to die, but now she tries not to think about it. In any case, she will try with all her might to change her fate. Since the girl only vaguely knows the plot, although she herself doesn't know how, she still knows one thing for sure. For her own safety, she needs to move out from her parents and start living separately. She would also like to help her mother, but if she takes on everything and everyone who needs help, nothing may work out in the end. Sophia is very worried that she will look like a bad daughter in their eyes, but she is reassured by the fact that there are most of them in the city. It is rare to find children here who completely satisfy their parents, and this applies not only to behavior. And another problem is that she doesn't know the rules and laws of this world. So the first thing the lady did was go to this place, the repository of all knowledge and the pride of the empire. The girl approached the administrator and said that she would like to find books related to court cases and laws. The man tried for a long time to remember whether they had anything like that or not. He even checked the database, but found nothing. After that, he advised to go to the west. She would have to walk a bit there since, unfortunately, there was nothing here that she needed. She didn't answer him, started going up to the first floor, and also, maybe because of her bad mood, started complaining that there was too much space here, that she had to walk a lot. After that, she remembered that this building was previously used as the main palace, so there couldn't be little space here. The girl also began to wonder where she got so much stamina from, because in her past life, she clearly remembers there were problems with this. She only has to go up one step from you. When suddenly, a question is heard asking if she is okay, and she doesn't even immediately understand who is talking to her because she is looking at her feet. Kale iris, shiny silver hair, yellow eyes. This guy is very popular. He is a young lord from the Marcus family. Accordingly, he is one of the main characters. Since Sophia, as it seems to her, is not even a supporting character, she is interested in how he recognized her, and also did not make a mistake in her name. She asked him how he knew her, and he answered that he simply looked at the color of her hair and understood everything. As far as he knows, sky blue hair is a characteristic feature of the Validus family, and this family does not have many children, so everything is elementary simple. The girl thanked him for helping her, and also called him by name, and he also wondered how she could know him. It's strange. Does this guy seriously think that someone might not know who he is, especially since he is also very easy to recognize by his hair and eyes? After that, she thought that he might be busy and asked if she was distracting him too much. Maybe he was going the other way. Now they have already approached the books. He began to take out one from the top shelf and, for some reason, is in no hurry to answer her questions. Instead, he asks how much she loves to read, probably wants to get a lot of books at once so that they will last her a long time. At this time, they hardly talked. Now she sits down at the table and tries to understand why he still hasn't even hinted that he has any business. She didn't even ask him to be with her. And in the meantime, while he was not going anywhere, she took advantage of this and asked him to bring as many books as possible so as not to waste time on this later. He asks her if she really needs all this, And of course, how long it will take to read everything to the last page. She told him that she had simply become engrossed in reading and could no longer imagine how to relax in the evenings without her favorite books. The girl thought that if he starts talking, she will talk to him. But the guy is silent, and during this time she managed to read something. She is still wondering why he doesn't go anywhere. Is he just bored, or is it better not to go back anywhere for now? The reasons may be different. She decided not to meddle in other people's business. Meanwhile, evening came. Time flew by unnoticed, and for some reason he already apologizes that he couldn't walk her home. Apparently, business came up after all. Sophia is still very grateful to him for his help. Without him, she would still be trying to get everything she needs. Kale still looks at her with such a look as if he really doesn't want to say goodbye, but can't do anything about it. Finally, he wished her to take a break from books more often, because from the outside it was obvious how tense she was, although he didn't even know why she was like that in reality. In her place, he would probably be exactly the same. She's pleased that he's worried, but she could have said it differently. Lucky she's not a very touchy person. After that, the two of them felt a little awkward, but it was a pleasant feeling. It was clear that they wouldn't mind meeting again. Still, his behavior seems a little suspicious. It's strange that he was able to recognize a girl by the color of her hair. And also, he is a knight, and it can't be that out of the blue. He would be so kind to the first person he meets. She would really like to know why he behaves like this, why he is so mysterious. It would not even be surprising if, in fact, he has no business and did not go with her so as not to look too intrusive. And then she asks him if she can ask for one favor, if of course it wouldn't be too rude on her part. She needs him to come to the Validus estate after 8 o'clock tonight alone and return this necklace, which she will give him now. He didn't quite understand what it meant, but he couldn't refuse either. He wondered what Sophia had planned and why it was necessary to see her tonight and not, for example, tomorrow or some other day when it would be convenient for him. Half an hour passed. The girl had already returned home. Today there was a beautiful sunset, but even this did not affect her mood. She was somehow depressed and had no strength for anything. She was met by a butler. She asked him how her mother was doing, and he replied that she had recently taken some medicine and was now resting in her room. In fact, she is very sad every time she comes home and thinks that one day the butler may tell her terrible news because her mother's condition is getting worse and the medicines are not helping as well as they did some time ago. The assistant was already thinking of leaving to do his business, but she asked him to stop at the very last moment. He barely even heard her. The man doesn't even guess what she wants to tell him, or rather, offer him. He certainly didn't expect that from her. Sophia didn't even ask him to step aside. She asked him right there, and then if he had accidentally thought that it would be better for everyone if her father was no longer in their lives. Bald doesn't even know how to react to this correctly. For a moment it seemed to him that this could be some kind of test, so he first asked how seriously she was asking about this now. The girl replied that she had thought about it for a long time, but if this method was too cruel, she had a second option, to just leave him or move out of this house. Ideally, she would like to take the title from him and appropriate it for herself. And it always seemed to her that her mother's well-being directly depended on the situation in the family, and maybe, if everything got better, she would immediately feel better. The main thing now is that the man does not use this conversation against her. Sophia could have made a mistake. Maybe she should not have discussed this matter with the butler, in whom she is not sure. And since everything has already been discussed, there is no way back. She just needs to know whether he's on her side or not, and whether she can count on his help. And so that he doesn't think that she is not sure of her choice. The girl says that if he agrees to help her, he can also benefit from it. Meanwhile, a whole month has passed since then. The assistant is still trying to help the lady as best he can and still hasn't told anyone what he started doing. At some point, the maid came up to him. She was bored and wanted to talk to him, only if she knew how untimely all this was. Suddenly, he didn't even listen to her. Interrupted and said that it looked like the young lady had left, but really, their plans had worked and he had helped her do it. And now he was trying to pretend as if he had nothing to do with it, so that he wouldn't get fired from his job. And in the meantime, here they are already in some living room. It is not yet clear whether she returned home or he came to her in another estate, which is very unlikely. During this time, she would not have had time to buy anything for herself, and even more so, move. The girl takes out some kind of bag. She says that she has good news for him, and he already understands what she's talking about. She started to tell me that she had put something in her father's drink and taken his money so that he wouldn't have time to gamble it away. The man is not sure that it is safe for him to participate in this with her. He even admitted that he might change his mind soon, because if he loses his job, he will simply be left on the street, and it is very dangerous for him to take such a risk by cooperating with her. It's still very difficult to understand that they haven't thought about what their plan is. But one thing is clear. She really wants this, and he's afraid that this seems like the biggest mistake in his life, and he's already afraid to leave her so that it doesn't get even worse. The next day, the girl is already taking part in some lottery where you can win a ticket. For this, she even went out early in the morning to take her place in line. She bought a lot of tickets at once, called a carriage, went in with her assistant and started trying her luck. Perhaps she just needs money to move into a new house and maybe even take the butler with her to provide him with work for a long time and make sure that he is not afraid to be on her side. Because being in different estates, it will be very difficult to do a common business. He tried to dissuade her from this idea for a long time because he knows that she will never make a lot of money this way. The girl answered him that she takes it more lightly and believes that when there is an opportunity to win, why not take advantage of it, especially since she hasn't lost much. After that, they went to the racetrack for some reason. Bald this time doesn't understand why it's necessary, but tries to keep quiet. He has already stopped seeing logic in her actions. It seems to him that she just went out for a walk and had fun. It turns out that they didn't come here just like that. You can also earn a lot of money in this place. If you have luck and intuition, the point is that they will look at people who are competing, and you need to guess who will run or drive to the finish line faster. This means that she decided to earn money in the easiest way. And in the meantime, the butler can no longer stand it and asks, "Is it really impossible to approach this matter more seriously? Try and earn much more than here." She simply asked him to trust her in response, because if everything worked out, their problem would be solved in a matter of days, or maybe even faster. And then he would definitely be grateful to her. Sophia reminded him that he would be at work now, but he could relax and take this trip as a fun journey, and she would take care of everything else. Out of the blue, she suddenly wanted to buy him some things, started asking what brand of clothes he liked and what kind of cufflinks and shoes he liked to wear. He asked to talk about it later. He already has too many thoughts and it's too loud around him and he can't really hear her. Bald looks at the lady and literally does not recognize her. She is filled with passion and a desire to bring the matter to an end by any means. And in the meantime, while they were waiting for the results, he told her that before buying him anything, it would be a good idea to pay him his salary, which he hadn't been paid for several months. At least he has a family to feed, clothe, and provide for. The man apologized if it was not the right time, but he doesn't even have food at home and he could no longer remain silent. She promised him that he would receive his money that evening, and after that the assistant asked where they were heading next. The Orthus Empire. A cruel empire that cultivated a love of flowers and plants based on blood and the resentment of the countries they invaded and destroyed. The empire is famous for its pride and absolute power, as well as for its beauty, which no other empire can boast of. The magnificent golden sun, orchids and irises blooming under it. These were the symbols of the representatives of the imperial family. They are all gathered at the same table right now. This doesn't happen often, but it finally happened. This guy's name is Estir. He is the third prince of the Orthus Empire. As usual, they can talk about other topics besides work, because recently a lot of problems have accumulated that need to be solved. Suddenly, for some reason, he started telling me that he had recently met Lady Sophia Validus and was talking about it as if he was proud of it. The guy changed the subject so quickly that the others don't even know how to react, especially since maybe no one is interested. Maybe he wants to hear advice. Maybe someone knows more about her than he does. But for now, everyone is silent. His brother thought that the girl, like everyone else, was trying to attract the attention of the Estir. But he explained that he wanted to meet her himself and still didn't know what came over him. He just feels that he is very pleased after that meeting. Even though they didn't really talk, he wants to repeat it then. They ask him if it might be better to return to the previous topic. After all, they don't see each other often, and it would be somehow strange to discuss the life of only one of them personally. Meanwhile, the lady and her assistant had already returned to the estate. He suggested approaching their case more competently. He began by noticing that the girl was buying a lot of unnecessary things, and this was money that could be put aside and spent on something necessary. And she promised that they would discuss it, left him alone with the maid, and went to her office for half an hour. Then he thought that he probably said too much, and it was none of his business. He had already forgotten that he was not alone here. He began to be afraid that he had pointed out mistakes that could have been kept silent about. Meanwhile, as it turned out, the girl was not offended, not angry, not upset. She just had too many thoughts, so she wanted to be alone. And she also thought that she was bothering the butler too much, so she allowed him to communicate with other people. He probably wanted this very much for several days. If only a man knew that he doesn't have to worry about anything, but he'll get nervous. And all this time he'll be afraid that he did something wrong. If you look from the outside, she looks so tense, as if something very serious depends on her now. Although this is true, it concerns her life, safety, and happiness. She really likes that she knows something about the future, and Sophia also doesn't notice how she forgot what tiredness is. She is so happy because she learned the results of her efforts. She earned so much money that day that she had never held such money in her hands in her entire life. It is very good that she did not listen to the man and believed in luck. She used the money she earned to cover her living expenses, also paid the overdue salaries to her employees, and most importantly, Sophia purchased a plot of land as she wanted. No one could have imagined that in such a short time, she would solve all her financial problems and also make such a serious purchase. She didn't expect this from herself. It was so nice that she wanted to do the same thing again. Then she remembered that her father also had problems with gambling and promised herself that this was her last easy money. Now she would earn it either with her mind or with her hands. This day could have ended in some pleasant way without any unpleasant surprises. But sometimes things happen the way you don't want them to. The assistant comes and says that her father and mother have arrived, although there is nothing wrong with that. But inside she has a feeling as if nothing good will come of this. And now it is better for her to gather strength and patience. Some screams can already be heard from the first floor. They are trying to calm the man down because he is acting a little crazy. The daughter thought that they would at least talk. She would ask him how he was doing, but he, as always, with a bottle in his hands, in an inadequate state. She even had some memories of the real Sophia. She is now, and it was terrible. She saw how her father treated his daughter cruelly and very often. He was in just such a state. Because of this, she didn't even want to let him get close to her. Even from that look, it's clear that he's not himself. Her father asked her to come down. He doesn't understand why she doesn't run to hug him. Only it sounded more annoying than how it should have been. The girl thought that since she had decided to change her life, it meant that she had to stop being the way she was with her father. Otherwise, nothing would change. He got used to the fact that she loved him no matter what, tried to help, even gave him some money, and he took advantage of this. To begin with, in order not to anger him even more, she pretended to want the best, asked him to throw the bottle so that it wouldn't break and no one would have to wash the floor again. She probably thought that it would be better to talk to him when he was sober and could respond adequately to her words. And in the meantime, Esther, as he promised, came at 8 o'clock. As they had agreed, he had in his hands something that she asked him to return. He still doesn't know why it was necessary, so he even took his brother with him, apparently an assistant, in case he would see better from the outside whether the guy should communicate with her. He doesn't even know what's going on inside this house right now. Sophia probably needs his help. The guy starts calling her because there is no one in the yard, and it would be somehow wrong to go through there himself. He shouted so loudly that she immediately heard him and understood who had come, but it didn't seem like she was happy about it. Apparently, it was all because of her father. He knows how to ruin the mood, but for some reason, instead of greeting the guest, she talks to her father, as if she thinks that this will help. She asked him why he was leading this way of life. Couldn't he live like all other normal people? And he replied that it was just more convenient for him. It seemed that this was exactly what she wanted to hear. So she told him that if he wanted to leave this life earlier than he was destined to, then he should do it unnoticed by everyone, so that everyone would forget about him and not waste their time on him. She even allowed herself to say that his existence has no meaning. He couldn't even raise his daughter, and he hasn't had a single merit in his entire life. These words would be so unpleasant that he swung at her and wanted to hit her with the bottle that had been in his hands all this time. It was lucky that one of the servants was seeing Esther off. He and his brother came in just in time and saw that the girl was in danger. She didn't think that anyone would help her, but Esther grabbed her father, and his brother came up to her to ask if everything was okay. He immediately introduced himself. His name is Orcus, and despite everything, it was a very pleasant acquaintance. It is clear that he liked her too. Now the guy understands why his brother is so fixated on her and wants to figure out who she is. And then Esther says that if they had come a couple of minutes later, it's scary to even imagine what this crazy person could have done to her. He suggested punishing him in any way she wanted, because all this was abnormal and he would have to get what he deserved for it. To begin with, she said that she was fine. Fortunately, her father hadn't hurt her in any way, and of course, she thanked him for his help. Surprisingly, she reacted to all this very calmly. as if everything that happened was only to her advantage. And then suddenly she asks to let her deal with her father herself, because she knows better what his weak points are and how to deal with him. She was even allowed to take a sword to make it more convincing, and so that the man would immediately understand that the jokes were over. Sophia hit the ball very sharply against the chair, right between his legs, so that he would come to his senses a little and not think that someone would give him a break here. He asks her what she is doing. How dare she intimidate her own father, who has done so much for her? She really wanted to ask what exactly he did before her, but she thought that this way she would only waste time and still not prove anything to him. I wonder how it will all end. Two brothers stand aside and watch it as if it were some kind of performance. You can tell from her how happy she is that things have come to this. Now there are no agreements between them. She cannot hide how she really feels about him. In the meantime, they had already gone to another place. She thanked them again for helping to sort things out. Maybe she could have done it herself, but it would have taken several hours, at least. And she also regrets that she didn't meet them the way she planned, because she didn't know that her father would arrive earlier than he said. She has already forgotten why she invited Esther. I feel so awkward that I want to turn back time and do everything differently. She was also very upset that these people saw her family, and they might not have the best impressions. They understand this perfectly well. They told her that this happens and no one chooses their parents, so everything is fine, and her father will be handed over to the Imperial Knights. He will be arrested and he will answer for everything he did, and not just today. They also advise her to hand over some documents so that her father cannot evade responsibility for his actions. They were talking. And then Orcus noticed different books on her table, and he understood perfectly well what they were, because he himself had reread them more than once before, but he needed it for business. And why all this needs to be eaten, he doesn't even guess. The guy just looked at her with a strange look that she even felt awkward. Although no one asked her about it, she still started making excuses, saying that she just likes to read everything, indiscriminately, and she thinks that even reading this wouldn't be a bad idea. Then she began to hope that she had improved the situation a little. The guy didn't react to this in any way and remained silent. Although everything had been fine just now, at some point Sophia felt that she had become very uncomfortable with him. She seemed to sense his energy and realized that just like with Esther, she would not communicate with him. And then she felt so uncomfortable that she began to wait for him to leave her house, although she herself does not understand how this happened. At first she even liked him, but now she has to pretend that everything is fine and she has nothing against him. Literally the next evening, rumors about that situation spread throughout the area. Their reputation as a family has sunk so low that it will probably never return to its former level. She didn't like it when there was too much attention to her before, and now, even more so, she even wanted to change her appearance so that people would stop recognizing her. Having thought about it all day and all night, in the morning she came to her assistant with the news that she wanted to change something about herself. She thinks that this is a very good idea, especially since they say that hair accumulates all the bad energy, and perhaps by cutting off a small length or maybe a large one, it will become at least a little easier for her to live. After the girl was always proud of her hair, how she was complimented, she says such things and the servants do not understand how she even thought of such a thing. It is her pride, and with a short haircut, she will not look like herself. They even tried to dissuade her, but she is so passionate about this idea that it is easier to resign herself to it and hope that she will not look much worse. And when the lady asked for scissors, everyone's hands started shaking, and at first no one even dared to listen to her. They even thought about refusing. Then she just found these scissors herself and cut off the entire length, and with such a smile, as if in reality someone else was happening, something more joyful and pleasant. The servants are simply speechless. No one is happy for her except her. They already see that things have gotten much worse. They were just afraid to say it. Here comes the evening. She's still getting used to her new image, but it doesn't look like she's happy anymore. There is a chance that she is already starting to feel sad and realize that it was too hasty a decision. And she also spends a lot of time silent, doesn't talk to anyone. From the outside, it doesn't look like she really regrets it and wants to get her hair back. Meanwhile, Sophia returned from her walk, saw that the butler was not sleeping and asked why, to which he answered her that he had already tried. It did not work, so he also decided to go outside. At that moment, he suddenly began to remember that it was here that she first proposed to him and asked him to think about the new life that they could arrange for you. He also said that he sees how hard it is for her. He really wants to help somehow, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the opportunity to do so. He's an ordinary butler who can only carry out minor assignments. The lady tells him that in fact, maybe he doesn't notice it, but he helps her a lot. At the very least, she feels support in him, and even this is absolutely enough. If she had understood all this time that she didn't have an assistant, it would have been much more difficult. But as it is, he made a huge contribution, and for this, she will definitely thank him someday, no matter how much he thinks that he doesn't deserve it. She also feels like she has done very little. After all, even though her father was punished, there is a feeling that this is still very little. She wants to feel that her life has changed, to feel that everything has become different. But this requires time and effort. Some time passed. She and those two brothers were invited to go into some room. Probably they would discuss something important there. I'm very curious why the three of them are going there, what will happen there, and why she couldn't go there alone. It turns out that this is something like a court. The fate of her father will be decided here, but it is already obvious that nothing good awaits him. Today, a decision will simply be made on how severe his punishment will be. Even those who have nothing to do with this case have come here. Probably people are just bored and they came to see how this happens. There is a very large hall here. She immediately saw her father, who is afraid to even look up. Although he is unlikely to be ashamed, he probably just slept poorly and is tired. The girl knows him very well, and she is not surprised that even at such a moment he smiles, as if everything is fine. He was always the kind of person who didn't care what was happening, no matter what was happening, even something bad, even if it was directly related to him. These two think that she is very sad, offended, ashamed, unpleasant. But in fact, Sophia has been waiting for this moment for a long time and is very glad that it has not dragged on for some time. The man, as usual, starts telling that he was set up and that he doesn't deserve to be here, to disgrace himself and to listen to how he is guilty of something. He has hope that there are some among these people who support him, although there are none here, and he is very much mistaken. Most of those present don't care at all. They watch what's happening as if it were a performance, nothing more, and the only person who cares about it is his daughter, and even she is against him. Because many people here don't know him. People don't understand why there is so much hatred towards him. He seems like a normal person to them, and this is only because he tried not to drink anything since the morning in order to look just right, adequate. But as for his daughter, although they don't know her either, their opinion is different. They really didn't like her, and it's very strange. In fact, the girl prepared very well for this event. She brought with her a sharp feather, which can very easily cut the dress at the right moment. Now everyone will know that they are in vain protecting the man and will see what he really is and what he is capable of. Sophia asked everyone present to pay attention to him, because now the most interesting thing will happen, after which her father will no longer have words to somehow defend himself. She even came closer to her father, started to tear her dress and asked if he remembered how all this appeared on his body, and most importantly, thanks to whom. And if he doesn't remember, then she can show some more areas that he grabbed very often, although he doesn't answer anything. Everyone in the room already understood what she was talking about and what she meant, or rather, who she was hinting at. He never had a conscience, so he reacts as if he has no idea where she got it from. Even dared to hint that her boyfriends could have done it. By doing this, he only hinted that he was a bad father because she told everyone that she had never had a relationship. At that moment, even Orcus supported her. Now he understands why she didn't want to talk about her family and said that they would soon find out everything themselves. The girl is very happy. She didn't even have to prepare for the trial. There is already evidence on her body that hurts, which is enough. After everyone had already seen her bruises, the guy offered her something to cover herself up and not have her clothes torn, to which she happily agreed and thanked him. It was very sweet of him. Sophia hadn't felt like someone cared about her for a long time, and it was more like nothing had ever happened. Although there is nothing special about this, it is basic help. But she will look at it in a special way and will remember this act of his for a long time. Even after the girl no longer spoke to those who decide her father's fate, these two brothers began to do the same. They felt that they had not done enough. And since they had the opportunity, they wanted to help the lady, especially since she deserves it, and has for a long time. There is complete silence in the hall. No one even whispers. No one gossips. Even the Empress is trying to comprehend what has just become clear, what no one could have suspected before. She has never seen people treat their children like that. And these two are of the same opinion. They insist that the man gets what he deserves, or at least experiences everything he did to his daughter. Everyone already understood that he had no conscience, and when he started saying that all this was not true, and he was set up, it sounded just funny. He started asking for support from one of the maids, who was always at their house and could say that Sophia had made it all up. But she was not on his side. She started telling him that she saw how one day He took a bottle and beat his daughter so badly that she couldn't get out of bed for 3 days and she had a huge wound in her head. She believes that even if it turns out that he is acquitted and released, it will not matter to her whether she loses her job or not, because she is an honest person and wanted to achieve justice, so she told the whole truth. All those present were divided into 3 camps. Some believed the girl, some believed her father, and some had not yet decided, and this person was one of them. He says that, firstly, it is impossible for a father to hate his daughter so much, and secondly, all these bruises could not have appeared out of nowhere, especially since the girl recently said that she was always at home and rarely went out with friends. And even if she did go out, everyone can confirm that they are very good people and would never do something like that to her. But the father, who felt stronger and saw a child in her, is quite capable of doing something like that, especially after his parties. Up until this point, the girl thought that minor and small evidence was of no use to anyone. But she thought that since they were here, they needed to talk about everything that could work against her father. She began to tell that even where she did not bother anyone, read her books, he constantly came, went to her. Not only did he call her an empty space, but he also mocked her. Sometimes it even got to the point that she was afraid to stay with him in the house. Because of this, she even had to create job postings so that they would have more servants and preferably guys who could protect her. The Empress's assistants don't even have time to write down all these testimonies. They are all so important that they try very hard to write down everything they hear so as not to miss anything. Despite the fact that everything is obvious, the Empress still acts as if she wants to help that accused. She even thought that this could really be a false accusation. And at that moment, Sophia was perplexed. Was it really that all that she had said and shown was not enough? She now couldn't even imagine what else was needed for her to be believed. Her body and her father's behavior are well known to all the servants who work for them. There are more witnesses than necessary. And here the most interesting thing began. If it is confirmed that her father is his number, she will have to inherit the title. And for this, a person must have the ability to lead a family. The girl asked if they were implying that they weren't sure she had enough of everything she needed, and that made her very angry because if they didn't think that way, it would have all ended long ago. Then she saw that everyone was already tired of sorting out this case. Everyone wanted to relax, especially since there was so much evidence against the man that there was nothing to even think about. Her Majesty began to ask for what money the girl would, if anything happened, support a whole house with a huge number of servants. She had to tell that she had recently won a lot of money. And although it was not necessary, she paid everyone their salary instead of her father, who had delayed her for several months. This proves that she is a very responsible person and knows how to spend money wisely, even the money she got the easiest way. Everyone understood that there was no point in arguing with her. Her conscience was clear. She had done nothing that could be faulted, but something still told her that everything would not be as she would like. Out of the blue, a very loud argument began. People seemed to have conspired, began to embrace her in the fact that everything was happening so that she could take the title. Everyone seemed to have forgotten that. First of all, her father was very dangerous for her, and something had to be done about that. She felt very offended that most often it happens that when a person tells the truth, even in detail, he is not believed in the end, and the deceiver is considered a holy man. Her Majesty is the only one who was able to remain calm. She adequately assesses this situation, and even she is already more inclined to believe Sophia. It turns out that the only thing that stops the girl's father from being punished is that she may not be ready for the responsibilities and problems that will fall upon her. But she has not yet understood one thing, that it is much better to face some responsibilities than to continue to live with a tyrant who, if released, will make her life even worse, will mock her more, and it will be dangerous for her to appear at home at all, as soon as people do not understand this. In any case, she has already done everything she could from you. All that remains is to hope for justice, which is almost non-existent in her life. She even stopped talking. She just listens to everyone around her and never ceases to be amazed at how people can so boldly decide and control other people's lives. Most of them have no idea what it's like to live in a house with a father from whom you never know what to expect. She is already beginning to think that there are accomplices of her father in the hall, although it is unlikely that he has enough normal acquaintances and connections to arrange such a thing. The people he communicates with would hardly be able to get back to normal and stand on their feet so early. Literally, a couple of minutes ago, there was a feeling that all this would last until the very night, and maybe even a few more days. But suddenly, Her Majesty finally made a decision and recognized Lady Sophia as worthy to accept the title. Accordingly, her father is deprived of this title and sent to correctional labor. The girl tried her best to pretend that she was reacting calmly to this. Somewhere deep in her soul, she felt that it could not be any other way, and now she was holding back very much in order to look dignified. She is so happy that now she probably doesn't even realize what happened. For the last half hour, the girl doubted that she would leave here with a smile, so it is very difficult to realize that everything is okay now. A new friend approached her again. He said that he was sincerely happy for her and thought that the decision was fair. It was just a pity that it didn't happen much earlier. Sophia thanked him. She said that she can't believe that it all ended this way, although she understands that it couldn't have been any other way. This means that justice does exist in this life. It doesn't appear right away, but it's better than never at all. And in the meantime, she had a habit of feeling as if the person was communicating with her for a reason, as if he needed something from her. Maybe this is not so, but so far it does not seem so. I want to hope that there are still people who can sincerely rejoice for someone and communicate with someone selflessly. Meanwhile, Esther called her. Probably he also has something to say, but it's strange that he came second, although she is much closer to him than to his brother. Then she saw who he was with all this time. At first she didn't pay attention to it, but then she became a little sad. Those two girls even congratulated her. Sophia feels that it was low, but she pretended that she was very pleased. In the end, too many people approached her. She was not prepared for this and even got a little scared. They all came up at the same moment. The girl hadn't felt like this for a long time. She even had a momentary thought that they would now complain about something and blame her. In the end, she talked to them a little. Everyone wished each other a good day and went about their business. Although Sophia was nervous at first, she feels great now and can now return home calmly. Finally, there is one less problem in her life. Now she can at least calmly stay at home and not think that her tyrant father can come at any moment. Now he is very far from her. He will not be here anymore. But these are not all the pleasant moments that await her today. The lady didn't even have time to enter the room. She was asked to go to the living room, and there was already a huge table set with food, as a congratulation. Everyone smiles at her, congratulates her. But her eyes run wild. Looking at such beauty, the girl is confused and doesn't even know how to react correctly. She didn't think that she had such good servants. Apparently, all this time they were also uncomfortable because of her father. And now, there is no irritant and everyone is happy. Everyone felt a nice atmosphere. It's very strongly felt, and it's really a pity that they all didn't do it earlier. But it would have been enough to simply unite. Although it is no longer important, all the bad is behind us. Now we need to continue to enjoy life and be happy. One maid couldn't resist and started eating ahead of time. Her colleague hinted that it was wrong, but the lady laughed and said that today, everyone had a day off and they could do whatever they wanted. Moreover, they themselves made such a wonderful table, and everyone can eat everything and as much as they want. Naturally, Sophia didn't forget about her mother, who is probably very bored. She has a lot to tell. But as soon as the girl entered the room, she felt a very sad energy. I'm very interested in how the woman will react to the news, although probably she has already been told everything. My daughter brought a small portion of food because she knows that she doesn't want to eat too much. Just small pieces of something are enough. She came up to her and asked why her mother was so sad. Because today was such a beautiful day, and did she really feel sorry for her husband? And also, the woman constantly turns away as if she is offended by her and wants her daughter to figure out what the matter is. Probably, if the girl tells how she suffered because of her father, her mother will understand her. But for now, she doesn't know anything like that and probably thinks that Sophia just wanted to take the title. Nothing more. Then, Mom finally admitted that she was very sad that so much was happening around her. But she couldn't even leave the room. She even slightly envies her daughter, that she has her whole life ahead of her, that she has achieved so much at a young age, and she, like a plant, which is doomed to remain in one place and which everyone will very quickly forget about. The girl tells her that it is wrong to reason like that. After all, this is life, and even in such situations you can feel happy. The main thing is just to think of something to do. She promised her to come up with something, and of course to come more often. Before, the girl was always busy with her problems. But now they are gone, and they will have much more time to devote to their mother. She even felt ashamed that her mother was always at home, and she came to her only in those cases when she remembered for her. It was a little wrong, but from that day on, everything would change. It's very upsetting for her to look at her sad face. It's as if she's lost the meaning of everything that's happening. Maybe she will be able to get some medicine. It can't be that her situation is absolutely without a way out. Something can probably be thought of, and if it is possible, she will definitely do it. Earlier, when she managed to restrain herself but now emotions took over, Sophia felt guilty. Although her mother's well-being does not depend on her in any way, the only thing she can do is be there and help with medications. She always thought that she wasn't doing enough. Although that wasn't true, if it weren't for her help, Mom would have gotten much worse long ago. At that moment, the woman said that even when she is gone, if that happens, Sophia should always remember that she loved her very much and that she is very proud of her beloved sweet daughter. She was never ashamed of her, and it is also a pity that she may not live to see the moment when grandchildren appear who will look like their daughter. She has long dreamed of living to this moment, but she understands that it is more impossible than probable, and such thoughts also make her cry, which she can no longer control. They flow like a stream. The girl tries to support her, but she herself does not understand why they are going through all these trials. They could have been a happy family like all other people, but fate decreed otherwise and presented them with trials one after another. Meanwhile, the next day came. The lady. Then she, that since she had started a new life, it should manifest itself in all areas. She decided to start with her wardrobe. She hadn't walked for a long time, and there was a reason to unwind. The assistant immediately supported this idea. She really likes to go shopping with her, and she also has several ideas, so literally everything comes down to buying something new. The lady felt a very pleasant lightness. She happily asked to prepare the carriage, took an assistant with her, and wanted to make this day as pleasant as possible. It seems to her that as she begins this new stage in her life, so it will go further. Accordingly, she needs to lift her spirits and please herself with something wonderful. From the outside, it looks like Marina is much happier than the lady, but in fact, they just express their emotions and inner state differently. The mistress is trying to enjoy harmony and a new life, and for the maid, it is just a fun walk and a change of scenery. Marina says that she is so happy for Sophia that she feels like she is in her place and is happy instead of her. To which the girl replied that she is very pleased, and also that she cannot fully comprehend that there is nothing and no one left that can worry her. Only habit remains, but all this will soon pass, and with each day life will feel completely new. The girl didn't think it would be like this. She expected that everything would last much longer, although just recently she thought that everything would be faster. And in the meantime, they have already arrived in the capital. There are so many shops here that if you go around each one, you can return home at least by morning. Among such a huge choice, they went exactly where they saw acquaintances. This is a very unexpected meeting, and for now, Sophia is not happy. She didn't want to meet people she knew, she just wanted to enjoy the moment and calmly choose a dress for herself. Naturally, they all said hello out of politeness and asked how everyone was doing. But you could tell from their faces that something was wrong. But that's not the most interesting part. During the conversation, it turned out that this is the store of these two ladies. They opened it literally 6 months ago, and for some reason, Sophia still didn't know about it. So they immediately found a topic for conversation. The girl began to ask what it was like to be a store owner, because as a child, she dreamed of becoming one. The girls replied that it all looks great, cute, easy, but in reality, it is a lot of work. They do it themselves, without assistance, and they are also planning to open several other points. Sophia is one of those rare people who knows how to rejoice in other people's successes. She wished them all the best and promised to come to their stores more often, because there really is a wonderful selection for every taste and color. After that, they started helping her with her choice, although it was not necessary because there are such gorgeous dresses here that you can choose anyone without looking and it will be ideal. And in the meantime, the previous day passed unnoticed. A new one came, and today, the girl feels even lighter than before. She asked all the maids to put away her new things because there were so many of them that she definitely couldn't handle it alone. And in the meantime, she was brought a lot of letters that needed to be sorted out. The lady had been putting this off for a long time, but now she has time, and there is no reason to put it off until later. But she didn't think there were so many of them. She expected the smallest number, and then this, and from different senders. Only now she found out that some of them came this morning, literally yesterday. There were half as many, and now that's interesting. She is a little afraid that some letter might spoil her mood, or that it will turn out that she has a new problem. So she opens the first letter very carefully. Mostly there are some invitations to tea. It seems to her that these people just want to be friends with her because they found out how well he is doing now. She immediately sent a refusal to these letters. Then I started reading the next ones, but there everything was much more serious. In one of the letters there was a proposal of marriage, but for some reason there was no name, nothing. She doesn't even know who wants to make her his wife. She hasn't been talking to many guys lately, although it's possible that she's being approached by some stranger who just fell in love with her with his eyes. or maybe it's the one who was closest to her. Maybe it was a little ugly on her part, but she asked to use these letters for kindling, and without even opening half of them, she got tired and changed her mind about reading. The girl continues to adhere to the idea that if she even thinks about or lets into her life what she doesn't like, everything will continue to go on like that. She wants to distance herself as much as possible from everything bad, from all bad thoughts and even letters. And now that she has done this, she does not regret it at all, and is even glad that she decided to do so. Sophia was already calmly walking to breakfast. She was very hungry. She did not notice anything around, when suddenly, literally by chance, she saw someone next to her. And it was so close that she even got scared and became very tense. All this happened in a matter of seconds, but, according to her feelings, much longer, as if several minutes. Today, the lady chose an unusual image for herself. She is wearing shoes, and because of this, she could not stand on her feet. The girl slipped really badly, and when she saw who scared her, she couldn't believe her eyes. They didn't even agree to meet. She's very happy to see him, and would not mind spending time together. He could have appeared a little differently and at least not frightened her, as if nothing had happened. Orcus suggests taking a walk outside and still hasn't said what he's doing here. She just agreed to walk with him. She tries not to rush because if he has something important, he needs time and it will be normal to rush him. In the end, they suddenly changed their minds, got into the carriage and started to go somewhere. She still doesn't know what's going on, and since he's silent, she thought that they've become a little closer lately. Although, maybe it's just her imagination, and in fact, there's nothing wrong with it. Probably, if she thinks about it, then she is not indifferent to him. At least, since she is not against spending her time on him, this means that she definitely does not feel bad about him. Rather the opposite. Lately, the guy has been so mysterious that I'm starting to think that some of those letters were actually from him. And also, if you look at the situation from the outside, the girl forgave him for his sudden appearance. Didn't ask where they were going. Trusts him. Accordingly, he is much more than an acquaintance and even a friend to her. Maybe she doesn't notice it yet, but everything is clearly heading in that direction. Even now, although he is still just an acquaintance, she feels awkward, afraid to look him in the eye once more, so that he doesn't think up anything in himself. Orcus is no different either. You can tell that he comes to her just like that. They don't even discuss anything serious. It means that he just wants to see her more often. Even now, from his look, it is very clear how he feels about her. It's just that acquaintances don't look at each other like that. The girl notices all this, plays along with him, and at the same time tries to figure out whether she likes everything that is happening now. But if she doesn't think about saying goodbye, it means that she is comfortable with him, and that is probably the main things. Everything was fine, but exactly until the moment when she began to remember his biography, and the girl was surprised how she could forget that he is a very selfish, inattentive, and for some, a very cruel person. He is the one who is described as a villain. But the person she sees in front of her and the person who fits all these descriptions are two different people. She promised herself that as soon as she had time, she would definitely find out more about him. Although even what she already knew for some reason was different from how she knew and saw him in life. I want to hope that these are all rumors. Or maybe he really is like that. But this can also happen to everyone except her. He communicates with her very politely, calmly, is interested in her past, is not at all selfish. So far, she sees that everything is the other way around. At some point, she, without thinking, began to tell how in the morning she was sorting through letters and saw that someone was proposing marriage to her. The girl asks him how a person can approach this matter so strangely, without even leaving his name or address, especially since she rarely communicates with anyone and is not planning to marry anyone. At the very least, she needs to know this person and understand how much he deserves her attention, or does not deserve it at all. To which he said that he had never had such situations, and he does not even know what to advise. And it also seems to him that such proposals should be made in a slightly different way, looking the person in the eye and not hiding behind anonymous letters without even leaving any hints about your names. Then she thought that it was in vain that she began to burden him with her problems, apologized for it, and explained that it just still haunts her. The guy assumed that if a person sends such letters and does not indicate his name, it means that the letter was not the last one, or at least he will give some hints so that she will definitely understand everything. Sophia would really like to find out who this person is as soon as possible, because the more she thinks about it, the angrier she will become. She was very pleased that he was the person with whom she could discuss her personal life and not be afraid of anything. She also told him that she felt so comfortable with him that he was like an older brother with whom she had a great relationship and to whom she could tell anything she wanted. She still feels support from him. His cheeks turned a little red from these words, after which he answered her that it was very nice. And in the meantime, she remembers that she can combine business with pleasure, turn around and go towards her new lands, which she recently acquired. They began to figure out what could be done with these lands, what good could come of them, because if you just build a house, it won't be as profitable as, for example, building something, bringing benefit to the people, and getting money for it. The guy immediately told her that there was no need to rush into this, that she needed to think it through carefully, even if it seemed like the best idea. In his opinion, several days must pass, because if now it seems that nothing better can be thought of, then it may turn out that this was not the best option. Shortcomings or some other circumstances will emerge. Here they have already arrived in this area. She had never been here before. She had only driven past, but like this, to stop and look, never. There is some special atmosphere here. Sophia thought that there would be nothing special here, but now she feels that it was worth buying this plot. She really wants not to make a mistake with her choice, but at the same time she has no ideas. Or rather, there are many. But she wants something special so that it would be immediately clear that this is what is needed. There is one more thing. It is believed that this land is cursed, although this has not been proven, but still. Orcus asks her not to go far. You never know. He still feels like it's unsafe here, and she tells him that it's more of a self-hypnosis because she doesn't feel anything like that. After that, he said that it could be easily checked. If of course she wasn't afraid if it got a little cold and noisy now. He began to connect his forces, which would scan the territory and let us understand whether it was dangerous here or not. More precisely, it is not exactly magic. It is his power that was given to him from birth. Thanks to it, he can very often figure out where it is safe and where it is better to stay away from. And then she just couldn't believe her eyes, because he never said that he had such abilities. If she had known about it earlier, it would have been very useful. He replied that he hadn't thought about it before and didn't know that it could be useful to her, and he also promised to help if needed. Meanwhile, he had already scanned the entire area and concluded that it would be very difficult to develop here on my own. But with his help, even the impossible could be done. The earth is indeed cursed, but with the right approach, Sophia won't even feel it. Naturally, not without his help. Meanwhile, a good friend of the prince came to the palace. She wanted to know how he was doing, but she didn't think that she would come a little at the wrong time. At first, the guy was even glad to see her. He didn't mind chatting, but he himself didn't know that today his brother was returning, who had been missing for several days. He was informed that he was already going up to the second floor, so Esther was forced to hint that it was much more important for him to talk to his brother now. He apologized if it was somehow rude or ugly on his part. After all, she had come a long way, but it would be impossible to ignore her brother. And here is Orcus. Esther hasn't seen him in such a good mood for a long time. Usually the guy is all gloomy, doesn't want to see anyone, and lately he hasn't seemed like himself. He was actually going to change his clothes, but his brother asked him to stay. After all, he had a lot of questions for him that had accumulated recently, and he already understood what his brother wanted to ask, so he immediately hinted that if it concerned his personal life, then it would be better for them to discuss it later, when he was ready for it. Brother says that before they didn't have any secrets from each other, they shared the most personal information, and he doesn't like that. Now it's not like that. It seems to him that in his place he would tell everything as it is and would definitely not hide anything. Although in his place it would also be wrong to say such a thing. Orcus used to be of the same opinion, but times are changing. All this time, while they were talking, Orcus was in his thoughts. He can't wait for the next meeting with Sophia, and his brother feels it. He's tired of Orcus becoming so distant. He wasn't like that before, and Esther doesn't even know what to do about it now. He feels that he is starting to be jealous of him, and all because he has no friends and no acquaintances except for his brother, with whom he can communicate. Before they were always together, and now he leaves him alone. At first he didn't pay attention to it, but now he definitely understood that he automatically begins to feel hostility towards the girl who, as it seems to him, charmed his brother. He has nothing against her, but it turns out that he doesn't like her anymore. Orcus hasn't said a single word about her lately, but it's obvious. Esther knows him too well, especially considering the last conversation when he talked about her. There's no need to guess anything here. Orcus began to remember that all his life he had absolutely no care for girls, relationships, and everything connected with it. But with the appearance of Sophia in his life, Everything seemed to change. He could no longer imagine how it was possible to go several days without seeing her. It seems to charge him with vital energy, give him strength, and make every day more beautiful and colorful. The guy still doesn't admit to himself why this is happening, but it's all understandable. He just doesn't care about relationships, but in reality, everything is happening completely differently. Everything is heading in this direction. Esther thought that if he reminded them how good it was before, when they were together, like real brothers and there was no one else in their lives. But my brother didn't quite understand what all this meant. After all, times have changed. They are already adults, and it's normal for someone to make new acquaintances. He specifically doesn't say anyone's names, doesn't point to a specific person, and this makes Esther very angry. He never thought that they would have such problems. Or maybe it's just that he's jealous and also wants to meet someone. It is possible that he is upset that he was the first to meet that girl, and his brother simply took advantage of the opportunity and, so to speak, crossed him. In the end, they did not come to any compromise. Orcus understands what exactly does not suit his brother, but does not intend to change anything. Some time passed, another event was taking place, but despite the fact that the guy was very sad, he still came out to the people. At first, he didn't notice anyone, but then a very pretty girl greeted him and asked why he was so sad. He even recognized her because they had seen each other somewhere before and maybe even talked, so he approached her and asked how she was doing. And he also pretended that everything was fine so that she wouldn't ask any questions, although it was still obvious that something was wrong. Everything was more or less normal, but as soon as she came closer to him, he saw Sophia behind her and seemed to freeze in one place. He could never have imagined that she would appear here. He even forgot about the girl he was talking to and didn't notice how offended she became. He literally stopped noticing her, and when she asked what was wrong, he didn't hear that either, because he was looking at Sophia as if he was enchanted. Just recently, he barely saw her, and now he smiles as if nothing like that happened, although usually he never pretends, and his face always shows how he really feels. Then he found out that the two of them had come here together, and Sophia had simply gone away to get something to eat. Milana started to tell how she liked it here, acted as if everything was fine, but in fact she already wanted to go somewhere. She felt so uncomfortable. She is very good at pretending. He didn't even suspect anything. Only next time he will think why she started to treat him differently. Meanwhile, the girl was asked how she felt after the recent events, to which she replied that she wanted to say a lot, but there were simply not enough words. She says that it is very unusual to feel lightness, freedom, as if something is missing, but it is very pleasant. Then the guy said that he understands her. Only his situation is a little different. He means his brother. Maybe he wanted to hint at something, but she didn't understand anything. It turns out that he was trying to find out what she thought about Orcus. He thought that she would tell him something about how they met, but the girl remained silent. After all, it's her personal business. And if she doesn't want to discuss it, then that's her choice, and there's no need to be offended by it. In the end, he didn't learn anything new from her, so he started asking about her future plans, and she said that she herself doesn't yet understand how she sees her future. So much has happened lately that it's hard to imagine what will happen next, and he understands her perfectly in this too. Sophia tried to feel comfortable here, but either there is bad energy or she feels that someone is not happy with her here. She already wants to go home, although nothing bad happened. They talked normally, but she still feels somehow strange, as if something is wrong. She didn't even see a single bad look in her direction. Everyone around was very joyful, happy. There wasn't even a single upset person, which surprised her even more. She is very interested in where the unpleasant energy came from. She has only one guess about this. Someone hides their emotions very well. Just recently, everything was fine, and now she walks around, can't find a place for herself, and feels that everything is going in the wrong direction. In the end, she didn't want to be alone. She returned to the prince with her friend, suggested having tea, because she was already too tired to stand on her feet. And then the two of them start hinting that they wanted to be alone, and the prince doesn't even look in her direction, as if he was offended by something. She immediately realized that something was happening, although just a couple of minutes ago they were smiling, and everything was fine. So she was left alone, began to feel even worse, even thought about going home so as not to spoil the mood of everyone around her. Out of boredom, Sophia began to look at the paintings. She had never been interested in art before, but now she looked at one of them out of desperation. In the end, her friend invited her. But this time, Sophia didn't really want to join them because they were behaving too strangely and ugly. She had so much nothing to do that she agreed, but it was the last time, simply because there was nothing else to do. She didn't have any other acquaintances here. Some time passed. They had already opened some chests, Sophia didn't even immediately understand why she was doing this. In general, her creation was too foggy, as if someone was controlling her. Then they started talking about art. The prince suggested going to the exhibition, but at that moment he only looked at her friend, and Sophia was very offended again. Even though they invited her themselves, there is still a feeling that they did not want to do this. At least this is evident from his attitude. As it turned out, there were different drawings on those papers. These were drafts that never became full-fledged paintings. Sophia. I thought that if they are not interested in her, then she can peep at all this. But there really is something to look at there. And finally, they started talking about something interesting. As it turned out, these are all masterpieces of artists who do not have the opportunity and money to promote their art. If no one sponsors them, no one will see their talent, and this is very sad. The prince even tried to come up with something about this before, but he has neither an address nor any contacts to contact people who need help. Then it became hard for him to do it alone, and Sophia was already thinking, lately she has a lot of free time and it would be nice to devote at least a couple of days to this. After a couple of hours, she got too bored. She decided to go home, and it was very right. She warned in advance that she would return with huge suitcases, but the servants could not even imagine what she would actually drag with her. She came back with 4 huge suitcases, and everyone is already eager to see what was so special inside that she presented it all like that. Sophia said from the start that her life would now be filled with art, at least if she didn't change her mind, and this desire would stay with her until tomorrow, or at least the morning. Everyone missed her very much. They were worried that she would return in a good mood, but they were even glad that at least she wasn't in tears. The girl asked why they thought she would cry about anything, but then she didn't want to talk about it much and suggested unpacking these masterpieces. Of course, she asked to put all this on the shelves in her room. This needs to be done by tomorrow, only very carefully so that not a single painting is damaged. She herself does not know why, but they have become very dear to her, as if it were some kind of family religion. Although she does not even personally know those who are the authors of all this magnificence. As it usually happens, everyone was interested in how much these paintings cost. I decided in advance that she would not name the real price, so I answered that they were inexpensive, and that they simply liked it as art. Although almost no one believed these words, not a single word of hers. The maids may not know much about art, but they know very well that a painting even by an unknown artist can cost as much as an entire mansion. Naturally, this day was not complete without Orcus. The girl invited him to dinner and asked the cook to try and prepare the food as soon as possible. Literally, he is very interested in what she wants to discuss with him, because it is unlikely that Sophia would invite him at such a late time. Although, who knows? Maybe she would. When suddenly, those 2 maids forgot that they were being heard and started discussing how it looked more like a date than a business meeting. The girls immediately apologized for their behavior. They promised that this would not happen again, although the lady very much doubts this. She felt very awkward in front of Orcus, but they still had a normal dinner, discussed some things, and literally half an hour later went their separate ways to rest. The very next day, she had an idea to invite a person who could suggest how and what she should do with those paintings. She was initially inclined to find their authors, but the assistant began to say that it would be better to get as much money out of this as possible. She asked him, "What about the people who are the authors? If they find out about this, they will be able to evaluate from her everything that they earn, and they will also demand compensation for the bad deed." The guy assures her that there is no problem at all. He promises to make sure that this does not happen. And then the girl begins to understand that this is not the person from whom she would like to listen to advice. She really doesn't like it anymore, and everything he says is not her methods at all. It seems to her that it would be better to find these people, help them become famous, and agree on some percentage if the painting starts selling well. She clearly turned to the right person. Now she's listening to him and thinking how to quickly hint or say goodbye to him. They have completely different interests. He wants to help her sell these paintings for a lot of money and get his share, but she is not happy with this. She looks into these eyes that are already waiting for big money to light up, and there is not a drop of conscience in them, which she has. It was such an unpleasant conversation that it's surprising that the guy never realized that his ideas weren't right. While he was telling her something, she pretended to listen to him, but she tried to think of something, but nothing came of it. Then she looked at the butler and saw that he was not happy with this man's methods either. Suddenly, Sophia thought that if she didn't do anything about it, she would only waste their time, and no one needed that. So she said that she would think about his proposal, and suddenly what? She would announce her decision. After that, she asked him if he needed to call some kind of transport because, as far as she knew, he didn't live close by. He said that nothing like that was needed, and also that he would wait for a letter from her, but most likely he would never get it. Then he began to understand that if she had liked his idea even a little, she would have said at least something. But as it was, he didn't hear a single word from her. Then he asked her to tell him honestly whether she really didn't like something, to which she told him that she just didn't understand it well, that she needed time to finally decide everything. Suddenly, she would change her mind about doing anything about it. Sophia tried her best to see today, although I'm sure he felt that this was their last conversation, at least on this matter. Time flew by again very quickly. The next day has already arrived, and today the girl remembered that she had not felt lightness for a long time and realized that she was doing something wrong. To at least lift her spirits a little, she invited her new friend to breakfast because it was better than being alone, especially since he was not busy at all and would also be happy to spend time together. To begin with, she asked him how he was doing, what was new, what he had been doing all this time, how long had it been since they had seen each other, and he replied that all this time he had not been sitting idle. He had been busy with a very important matter and had prepared something interesting for her. He has some documents that can help her in the future. He doesn't demand anything from her for this. He was just interested in understanding this and making sure that everything is in order in this regard. Sophia couldn't even imagine that he would just, out of boredom, do something that would be useful to her. She even felt awkward. And he pours himself tea into a cup so calmly and leisurely that she begins to envy his harmony, which she had just a few days ago, but has disappeared somewhere. She also felt that the longer she talked to him, the more pleasant and light her soul became. Even he admitted that all this time, while he was without her, he was not as comfortable as now. The prince was tired of keeping it all inside. He really wants her to know how good he feels with her. But if only the guy knew that it was absolutely mutual, he would be very happy. And so, she is afraid to admit her feelings even to herself, not to mention telling him about it. Everything became so confusing that she again felt a mountain of problems, although in fact there are not so many of them. They even rather do not exist. She just knows how to exaggerate everything and still does it. Orcus feels that she is not telling him something, asks her what happened, and she pretends that everything is fine, although it is clear that everything is the opposite. Out of the blue, he starts saying that it wouldn't hurt for the two of them to do something to make life feel different. Personally, he is already tired of every day being the same as the previous one. Nothing brings him pleasure except their meetings together, and this means that something needs to be done about it. It seems to him that she also has such a problem. She immediately said that this is true, that she would also like to change something, but she does not yet know how possible it is. The prince suggested doing something unusual and also making it so that they would see each other much more often. She understands perfectly well what all these hints are about, but she doesn't even know what to answer to this, because it could be a mistake and a hasty decision. Her hands began to tremble slightly. Each meeting was increasingly filled with hints that they could be in a relationship. He says he's thought about it and promises not to pressure her because he understands what it's like to hear all this so suddenly. He himself would be very confused in her place, especially since she is a girl who takes everything too seriously and is afraid of making the wrong choice. Sophia tries not to show it, but she herself would immediately agree to this proposal, but she does not want to seem too trusting and naive. Maybe she just wanted to drag out the time so that it would be interesting for him to pursue her. But not many people like that, and you shouldn't overdo it. At some point, he started looking very intently into her eyes, and she almost agreed after she said she would think about it. She convinces herself until the very end that she is not attracted to this person and she wants to keep her distance from him. Her behavior is very illogical. It's high time for Sophia to trust her heart, because if she continues to miss this chance, she will regret it greatly someday, and it will be too late to change anything. So that she wouldn't think that the guy was offended, he thanked her for at least not kicking him out and promised to think about it. Even that was nice for him. And she in turn apologized that maybe she seemed rude or vague. It's just that she very rarely received such offers. Although the guy didn't say anything directly, she understands everything perfectly and talks to him as if he communicated with her without hints. He is glad that she understands him perfectly, but he is a little embarrassed that he cannot say what he thinks. He has to think first and then speak, and this is inconvenient. Meanwhile, they had already gone outside with him, thinking that they had been sitting for too long and it was time to get some fresh air. An assistant approached her and informed her that they had a guest who had not announced his visit, but strongly insisted on speaking with the lady. Another assistant said she was unsure whether to let him in because he was too pushy, like he was a little crazy. Sophia's first thought was that it could be her father. Then she remembered that it was impossible and decided to let the guest in anyway. She became very curious about who it could be, and since the assistants were seeing him for the first time, they didn't even know his name to warn or say anything about him. It turns out that this is the same guy who was waiting for an answer from her all this time, but never received it. Unlike how he just behaved with the holes, now he is like a different person. He brought her another painting, hinting that this was a very profitable business and that she needed to think about it and start collaborating with him. Sophia hoped that he came for some other reason, but unfortunately, she would be forced to upset him again. Since the assistants don't know this person and everything that happened, they still suggest listening to him, spending time with the guest, otherwise it would be very ugly on her part. Although if they knew the whole situation, they wouldn't have said that, madam. She didn't react to it in any way because she understands that for their part they are absolutely right and want what's best for her. Hearing what they were talking about, the guy was very happy because this was his chance. It's just a pity that he was very wrong and understood everything incorrectly. The girl told him directly that she would not sell these paintings without the knowledge of the authors, and also that she was going to find them and help them get money from this, and she herself did not claim anything. The guy sincerely doesn't understand where such good people come from. He even started to get a little angry with her and hint that if she does this, she will regret it later. Sophia asked him not to give advice unless she asked for it. After that, she also began to communicate with him in hints and hinted that no one was actually waiting for him here. The girl already regretted that she had ever asked him for help and had gotten involved with this man. He was so intrusive that it was very difficult to get rid of him. He also speaks so emotionally that she feels guilty, although he is her assistant, not her, and this should not happen. The lady tried to explain to him very politely that she had thought everything over and now did not need his help. At that moment, the guy spoke to her and offered to deal with this persistent guest in a manly manner. He immediately became scared, as if he finally heard what she had been telling him all this time and apologized for disturbing them. In the end, she somehow miraculously decided to give him a chance, said that if he wanted to make money so much, he could paint his own picture and sell it to anyone. And since she loves to help everyone, she invited a model and provided him with tools to check if he had talent. He drew his first portrait with pleasure. He liked it very much and everyone else did too. The guy thanked her for her help and was surprised that he hadn't thought of it before. For his first attempt, he's doing quite well. No worse than the paintings he was going to help sell. Then it seemed to him that his painting was not beautiful enough. He underestimated himself, although in fact, everyone around him noticed that he had talent. Sophia has done everything she could on her own. She no longer hints, but says directly that she doesn't have time. But it's as if this person doesn't hear me. He doesn't understand what she's talking about. Apparently, he's taking advantage of her kindness, and so far he's succeeding. It got to the point that his assistant started kicking him out, and he behaves as if someone here owes him something. The lady can't stand it. She asks them to be quieter, because a little more, and she will yell at everyone exactly the same way. Just recently, the girl wanted to restore her mental state, but every day, everything is getting worse. At least there is a person nearby with whom she feels comfortable. At some point, she realized that it was better to take care of herself. She stepped aside and allowed everyone who wanted to argue, shout, to wait until they no longer had so much strength and could talk normally, calmly. I had to endure these screams, but it is much better than wasting your energy, and absolutely for nothing. It didn't seem like this man was even remotely attentive to other people's opinions. And now that he had finally calmed down, she approached him and asked him to listen carefully to everything she was about to tell him. Firstly, he is at her house. Secondly, he came without warning. Thirdly, she had things to do, and she had already spent several hours asking him to leave here. This means that if he does not listen to her right now, next time she will be forced to ask security not to let him into this area under any circumstances. No one expected such words from her. It was very unexpected and at the same time very correct, because they simply don't understand her in any other way. After that, she looked at him, but it still didn't seem like he listened to her. It really wasn't easy, a little more, and she'd have to call someone for help. Although it is enough to make this person want to throw out, who is just barely holding back and not touching him. Unexpectedly for herself, she began to attack him, as if he wanted to hit her, and she began to defend herself. Apparently, she didn't have enough patience. And this is not surprising, after all. If a person does not understand in a good way, you need to deal with him in a bad way. She doesn't care anymore what people think of her, whether she did the right thing or not. How cruel. She just wants to kick this person out of her house. If he comes here again without warning and just wastes her time, the only thing left to do is contact the police. She told him directly that if she had known that everything would turn out this way, she would never have turned to him for help, or in general, gotten to know him as a person. The prince stands aside. He turned out to be much more reserved than the girl, although in her place he would have acted exactly the same. Sophia doesn't understand how after so many hints, so many of their words, this whole situation, how he can stay where he is and still not apologize to her. She wanted to say a lot more. But at that moment, the guy took her hand and asked her not to waste so much effort and energy on a person who doesn't even listen to her and isn't worthy of it. She immediately felt much better. He asked how she felt, and if necessary, he was ready to sort things out for her. At that moment, she really wanted to give in and say that of course she would only be glad, but she couldn't. The girl really doesn't like to shift her problems onto others, so the last time she said that if this respected guest doesn't leave here right now, she will make sure that he runs away from here. The guy didn't understand what she meant at first. He even dared to ask what she was talking about, and she hinted that it was better for him not to know. It sounded even stranger, and finally, she saw fear in his eyes. Sophia herself is not delighted that she is forced to behave like this, but the situation demands it. As soon as he found it, she felt much better. To calm down, the girl began to look at the paintings, but then noticed that she was not even looking at them. She has so many thoughts in her head that now only one thing can help. Lie down on a soft bed and sleep for at least a couple of hours. Unless, of course, someone disturbs her again. Some impudent guest who thinks that he can do anything. Sophia didn't notice before how much she loved silence, but now she enjoys it so much that if someone were to call her now, her mood would be very bad. It's the same as taking away a portion of food from a hungry person or telling him that he can eat it only after some time. Meanwhile, the next day came. It's hard to believe, but that guy came to them again and asked through his assistant to tell them that he really wants to apologize for yesterday's situation. Well, the lady allowed him to enter the living room, asked him to apologize so sincerely that she would really forgive him, because if she felt that he was doing it insincerely, she would immediately throw him out. He didn't think that she would react to him like that. He even felt a little offended, but still, he said what he wanted. And also, the girl is not sure how useful this suggestion is, but she is not against it. For starters, she just asked to stand aside and not distract her. For now, she has some things to do. She needs to sort out the documents, of which a lot has accumulated since yesterday. And he is to blame for this. The girl spent a lot of time on it, and now, instead of having a nice breakfast, she is forced to deal with all this, because later she will have even less time for it. It's amazing that she even let him near her, because if you remember how she talked to him yesterday, it seemed like Sophia simply hated him. In the meantime, he has a meeting planned with the artist. Firstly, she may know other artists that they are looking for, and secondly, she wanted someone to draw her portrait, because lately she really likes everything connected with it. And of course, she wants to fulfill her childhood dream, to become a model. The girl immediately warned that she is not a professional artist. She just loves this business and does not promise that the result will be as desired. But at the same time, she does not underestimate herself too much and promises a more or less good portrait. After they agreed, the artist started working and said it would take about half an hour, maybe a little more. The promised time has passed. The painting is ready. The lady specifically asked to paint without bright colors, so that there were only black and white shades. She peers at the painting so closely that the artist already thought that something was wrong, although she tried very hard and was afraid that she would be disappointed.